Okay, so I think it's time 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Maybe good morning. This is Jerry Kubota at Ohio State University, Columbus campus. Thank you for coming to this Indoor Ag Science Cafe. I'm always excited to have you guys and then having this online forum together. So I just wanted to, as usual, quickly instruct for those who are first time in this cafe. You are muted right now, but you can unmute to speak up. So I encourage usually you guys to use microphone, particularly in the Q&A session, so that we are more interactive. Or you can use chat line if you prefer to do that. And then also you're welcome to show the video also, particularly during the Q&A session. So today we have part one presentation from the president of BrightFarms, Paul Lightfoot, and he's going to talk about controlled environment production for safer leafy greens. Recognizing that, you know, the food safety is a big issue. So we are looking forward to that. And then we have an open discussion time, Q&A time, and this is not going to be recorded, the discussion time. So the idea is, you know, you feel free to ask any questions you want. So a couple of questions, you know, if you have questions regarding indoor farming or technologies to go into indoor farming, we have two options now. One is the submission site for your questions. We call Indoor Ag Science Query question site. And then the link you can find in the cafe emails. And then you can ask any questions, and then we collect the questions and then have a specialized session to answer those questions. So that's one site you can use. The next site is more interactive indoor cafe online Q&A forum. And then this is within the site called Public Good Ag site. And then I think this is a community-based site, therefore you need login. But it is connected to multiple experts so that your answers will be your questions will be answered immediately or almost, you know, within the reasonable time frame, rather than the other one, which we only use questions for once in a while. So anyway, so this is a second option. You can ask questions. So maybe it's a good question if you review this recording and then feel like you need to ask questions to speakers or the expertise, then you might want to use this specific site. Again, link you can find in the cafe emails. Right, and then additional information, upcoming conferences, although, you know, the many conferences are now being canceled or postponed, but hopefully by June, we will be much better situation because this is a big conference, ISHS Light in Horticulture in Sweden, scientific conference. And then July, we have multiple growers-oriented conference or expo. And then we have a stakeholder meeting in July. So those things hopefully not going to be affected for this virus issue going these days. One more question, one more information slide. Upcoming cafe after today, it's going to be April. Two speakers from Michigan State University. They're talking about photons equal flavor of leafy greens. And then May, Nicola Kerslake is going to talk about how to fund your indoor farm. So that's going to be interesting topic for many of you who are planning to expand or planning to start the business. And then June and August, we have not having any speakers come up yet. So if you have suggestions, if you want to volunteer to speak, you are welcome to do so. So with that, I would like to stop sharing and then like to have Paul from BrightFarms stop sharing. And Paul, if you can start sharing.
Did that work?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the introduction, Jerry. I appreciate it. Everybody who's there, thanks for your interest and for participating. A couple other roles that I have that might be relevant for the conversation today, in addition to my role as the president and founder of BrightFarms. I'm also a board member of the United Fresh Produce Association, and I'm the founder of and the current chairman of the Controlled Environment Agriculture Food Safety Coalition. And that coalition, I think, is particularly relevant for what we're talking about today. It is a nonprofit association of members, and it's member run. And the members basically are producers of leafy greens that are truly operating in controlled environments and that are audited by a third party for food safety. And anyone is welcome to reach out to me afterwards if they'd like information about how to join that coalition. It's open to anybody who meets those criteria. And this coalition treats food safety as a non-competitive issue. We want to share as much information that's useful to leafy greens producers to ensure that everybody's operating as safely as possible. So I'm partly here in that role to inform everybody about food safety. And I'll dig right in. Let's see, we got to figure out how to advance these slides. Here we go. The briefest of introductions of BrightFarms. We're a company that was founded in 2011, initially venture-backed, now private equity-backed. We build and we operate greenhouse farms. We grow salads for supermarkets. These farms are indoors. They're controlled, secure buildings. Employees wear hairnets. We have footbaths. They are computer controlled, but we're using mostly the sun's energy for growing our plants with glass roofs, the light from the sun passing through the roofs and giving our plants the energy to convert that energy into growth. Each one of our greenhouses serves several hundred stores. We have 4 of them: Illinois, Ohio, Virginia, and in Pennsylvania. Our last one was our biggest one, about 280,000 square feet, about $20 million to build. And we have a facility not far from Cherry in Wilmington, Ohio.
Yes.
And one of our customers is indeed the Ohio State University's dining services. Although we just found out today that they're shutting down for 30 days. And on the topic of coronavirus, because it's hard to have a conversation without talking about it, I will say that in my role as a board member of United Fresh, I have been told that there is no evidence anywhere that food is a transmitter of the coronavirus. So I would say that plenty of things to worry about. I don't think food is one of them. The mission of BrightFarms, by the way, is to improve the health of the planet and the health of consumers by getting them to eat more food that makes them healthy, like fresh salad greens. And then I'll wrap up the intro about BrightFarms. You can find our products at some of the nation's best supermarkets like Kroger, Ahold Delhaize, Albertsons, and Walmart. But I'm not here to talk about them or about BrightFarms. I'm here to talk about a topic that I think is sufficiently serious that it deserves our attention. I think that parts of this country's food supply chain are failing from a food safety perspective, and the results are people getting sick that don't need to be. And my contention, and I'm going to tell the narrative today, the story that there is a better model that could make people healthier, or at least avoid sicknesses and maybe even save lives. That model is already available, and I'm guessing that everyone on this call, by you being on this call, it's a self-selected group, would agree that nobody should get sick by eating the food that any of us grow, make, or sell. So I'm going to talk about that today. And I'll start by talking about, the salads, which is, I think, the epicenter of the fresh food business in the United States. It's a big business, and it's important to our food retail partners. It is generally the #1 category for sales in supermarket produce departments, and it is generally the #1 category for profits. It is also generally a differentiator. So food retailers can't win without great salad programs. Nearly everyone on this call, I don't have to see you or hear from you to know that, at least if you're in the United States, that nearly all of you have eaten a salad in the last month. It's an amazingly high percentage of our society. Some of you in the last year might have grown a salad in a garden, and I'm going to guess that none of them have eaten salad from a garden and as a result were made sick by it. Growing salads and eating salads appears to be quite a safe set of activities, but it's worth noting that food retailers consider salads to be a high-risk category. So we'll start by saying, why is there a disconnect between the salad you might grow in your yard and the salad you might buy at your supermarket? And let's look at some of the trends that have happened in the last few years. And I'm going to start with like a simple case study. This is in 2018. In early April of that year, the FDA learned about a cluster of E. coli infections in 2 states. You know, about 2 weeks later, the FDA issued a public announcement to avoid all romaine from Yuma, Arizona. And during that 2-week period, millions of consumers were put at risk. And then it took really 2 months from that point for the outbreak to be declared over. And during the ensuing several weeks, it was a bit of a public health disaster. You know, 210 reported illnesses, and surely the true number was much higher than that. There's always lots of unreported illnesses. There were nearly 100 hospitalizations, some for severe cases, including high fevers and kidney failures. And sadly, there were 5 fatalities. This particular outbreak, it ended because the production season in Yuma ended, like it always does seasonally, and then moved back to the coast near Salinas. But when this outbreak was declared over, nobody had identified the source of the outbreak. It literally ended just because the season ended. During this period, you know, every food retailer that sold salads, which is all of them, found itself in crisis. There was confusion about what products consumers should avoid, what products were safe. Retailers had shelves with signs on them instead of salads saying, "We're out of salads, they're empty." And salad sales plummeted. You know, that was about 2.5 years ago. There has been a decline in sales of romaine over the last 3 years now of about 20%. That's hundreds of millions of dollars of industry lost. And that wasn't the last event. There was a recall of romaine in the Thanksgiving season of that same year. And then amazingly, there was another romaine recall in the Thanksgiving season of 2019. And it's still not going to be over with. You know, the CDC tells us that leafy greens are responsible for 20% of all foodborne illnesses. And since 1995, there have been over 6 dozen outbreaks. There's more hospitalizations from food safety problems with salads now than there are from beef, right? The Saturday Night Live in a skit made fun of romaine. You know, this is now gone from being a B2B issue to being a mainstream consumer issue in our country. And let's turn to the what I'll call the incumbent salad industry. These are the producers that are growing in fields and are shipping long distance to supermarkets around the country. There are a series of structural challenges facing the salad industry, you know, and it is inherently one that is a long and complex supply chain. You know, basically before controlled environment salads started hitting the market over the last several years, all salads in supermarkets in America came from California and Arizona, where you had multiple farms pouring their output into centralized processing facilities that were then packing and shipping through all channels, often through third-party distributors and shippers across North America. There are a number of trends going wrong for this industry. The first are rising transportation costs. The second is a shortage of drivers. The third, and what they might tell you right now is the most acute, is a shortage of farm laborers. And then the fourth is supply shortages and quality problems. You know, we have weather and climate volatility, and this is worsening with long-term secular drought conditions. But there's a fifth factor that didn't really make the top 3 5 years ago, and now it's by far the biggest, which is food safety. The salad industry that dominates the salad economy, you know, it's not structurally safe the way it's being operated today, just based on the data of how many outbreaks there are. And I think we could probably all agree that salad generally appears to be a healthy, affordable source of vegetable nutrition for our families. So you might wonder, you know, why is it dangerous? Especially when you have, I think, really well-meaning, good people working hard to make it safer. And I know a lot of people, they are doing what they can, but the structure of the supply chain makes it difficult. So I'll sum it up for you. The centralized field production, the way we do it in America, makes these plants vulnerable to pathogens. You have animals that run through the fields, or birds flying above it. You know, the 2006 baby spinach recall was largely believed to have been caused by wild boars. And you also have irrigation water in many cases acting as a vector, carrying pathogens from animals. You know, and the The 2008 Thanksgiving recall was believed to be caused by a CAFO, a factory cattle operation at a higher elevation, and the waste from the animals was rolling down a hill with water into an irrigation ditch that was used to irrigate the adjacent romaine field. So that is the first problem. You've got this exposure to pathogens. The second problem is that you've got these centralized processing facilities that are mixing salads from many farms. And when that happens, you can have contamination from one farm can result in contamination for products of other farms in that same processing facility, which might make a localized outbreak instead become a nationalized outbreak. And then the third factor is you've got this supply chain that's long and complex and opaque. You've got, as we discussed, the commingling, and these processing facilities are often packing and labeling into multiple brands and out into multiple channels, and then shipped to every corner of the U.S. via a network of wholesalers and trucking companies in a way that is making tracking back to the source quickly virtually impossible. Now, this is a problem that I think will be solved quicker than the other two problems. We've got some great innovations today like PTI and like blockchain for traceability. And these will shorten the time to identify the sources, will hopefully contain outbreaks more quickly. They're not going to fix the underlying problems, which will require prevention, not tracing. But I'm here to tell you that I think there's a better way. I think that growing locally and indoors in controlled environments is potentially a way to transform the safety of our salads. And I could speak for many companies that are members of the Controlled Environment Agricultural Food Safety Coalition, and we are generally growing in indoor growing environments that are secure from pathogens. We have locked doors, we have foot baths, we don't let animals in, we wear hairnets, we follow food safety protocols like a food processor would. We're also, generally speaking, not commingling the product. At BrightFarms, there's one farm with one label that goes into one market. You don't need any software to know where that particular leaf comes from. You can tell by looking at the label, even as a consumer. And then we've got a short, simple, and transparent supply chain. At BrightFarms, our labels literally have a map on it showing where the product comes from, who the grower is. You can look it up online. It is completely transparent, and it is short, and it is simple. And this is actually a photo of our Illinois greenhouse farm. This is a place that we think is a gold standard for safety in the industry. We have eliminated the causes, structurally eliminated the causes that resulted in a bunch of the outbreaks that we talked about earlier from Salinas and Yuma with romaine. Now, that doesn't mean we've eliminated all risks. We've eliminated structurally some of those causes that we've seen in the marketplace, but all risk can never be eliminated, right? We can reduce risks, but food safety, is more than structure. It's also a culture, and it is a continuous improvement journey. So at my business, at least, we consider food safety in everything we do. Food safety is imbued in our construction activities, in our operations activities, in marketing. It's really part of everything that we do. It's a number one priority for us. And as an example, we had a staff meeting at noon Eastern time, like we do on every Tuesday. And our staff meetings always begin with the director of food safety talking about food safety. She's either calling out best practices that she's seen examples of in operations, or calling out problems that she's seen, and we're constantly striving to improve. I should also point out that we think that there are opportunities to improve structurally, even from where we are right now. And as an example, we've gone compliant recently with blockchain in partnership with Walmart on the IBM Food Trust, which is, we think, going to be a great step forward for the whole industry. And we're happy to be an early adopter of that technology. And I'll wrap this up by saying that controlled environment produced salads is not just safer. So if you're thinking about it from a business perspective, it is also a shorter and simple supply chain that will lead to the product generally being fresher and therefore tastier, better looking, and from the consumer's perspective, better. And while certain parts of the supply of the salad industry are flat or growing modestly, the market for controlled environment salads is growing astronomically. It's skyrocketing right now, and consumers prefer it. Retailers want it. So if you're thinking about getting into the space, I want you to know that I think it's a good place to be, and I recommend it. And I began by speaking about the Coalition on Food Safety for Controlled Environment Salad Producers. I do want you to feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like more information on joining that coalition. My email is PLIGHTFOOT@brightfarms.com. That's PLightfoot@brightfarms.com. And Sherry, those are the end of my prepared remarks. If you'd like to ask or invite any questions.
Yeah. Before stopping the recording and then moving on to the Q&A, would you like to explain briefly what the coalition's activities and what is the benefit to be a member of that coalition?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, so we are founded on the mission of improving the safety of all controlled environment leafy greens producers, right? So if someone is in our space, we want to give them the resources to reduce their risk of having any food safety problems. So right now, and it's a relatively new organization, we were officially formed near the end of 2019. I think our board was set up right as 2020 began. Our board includes representatives from, let's see if I get it right, Revel, Little Leaf, Plenty, Bowery, AeroFarms, and BrightFarms. I'm the chairman. We're a 6-person board. We have a terrific executive director named Marnie Carlin. Right now, we're setting up standards protocols to be used by third-party auditors that will be specific to controlled environment operations. So, for example, a lot of the food safety audit checklists, involve things related to soil, as an example. That's not super helpful in controlled environment facilities. So we're helping organizations like NSF develop standards so that we can continue to be SQF qualified, but more efficiently and more quickly and hopefully less expensively. We're also looking to make available for our members a seal of approval that they can use on their labels, letting consumers know that the member organization's products are likely to be safer because they follow the standards set forth by the Controlled Environment Food Safety Coalition. And of course, we're going to have lots of training materials and training exercises available to our members. And eventually we will get into helping market as well. And also will be available as a resource for public relations, both proactively, but also reactively if there's ever an issue that the industry needs to act on cohesively together.
All right, great. Thank you. My
pleasure.
Thank you very much. And then let me stop the recording.